Tuck, and this is my epoch. so, yesterday during one of the videos, or actually in one of the comments, somebody had made a comment of, "Hey, what about 5 ways to be safe when you're homeless?" And I figured I would go ahead and at least offer 5 ideas. There's a lot more that you can do to be safe while you're out here, and there's a lot of different things that you could do. But I figured that I would offer it up as a way to as a way to give you guys the opportunity to ask the questions that you might want to ask, as far as what would you do in this situation. What are the things that you deal with most, things like that. So I do apologize. I am still I am still at what is it? I'm still at Love's here in Baldwin, and there's also an important update that I want to talk about. Well, I'm waiting for a few people to go ahead and join and come on in. Let me make sure that chat is enabled. Okay, all messages are visible. Okay. So all of a sudden this became busy. There was nothing that was going on in the background. Now all of a sudden, as soon as I start recording, typical, right? Okay, so something new that has developed over the last 24 hours has kind of changed the way in which I'm moving. Now, if you are going to watch this week's Hobo tutorial, I already have it up. I already have it ready and waiting. And we're going to be talking about adaptiveness, and kind of what I'm going through right now is definitely being adaptable. So last night when I was talking to the old lady, because she kept going, "Well, why aren't you here yet? Where are you at? Where are you at? Where are you at?" And I kind of started getting a little frustrated, just, getting upset a little bit, because it's like she doesn't understand, nor does she want to understand, what's going on. And right now I'm also in the process of uploading a video for the behind the scenes. It'll probably be released Wednesday, and it will be kind of showing you some of the obstacles and what it's really like, kind of trying to hop trains, one, and just the different obstacles that you have to go over. So with that being said, let me go ahead and get into today's episode. And if you can hear me, please let me know. If you can't hear me, please let me know. I may have to come back through and redo this and upload it as a separate video. I hope that doesn't happen. But I have made sure, because I wanted to make sure and have decent audio today. So the first thing is because I wrote it down, actually. The first one is trust no one. Why would you want to trust no one? I'll give you a couple of examples, because, when you're a decent human being, sometimes you tend to be more trusting than what you should be. Also, you go through, multiple things that just you probably shouldn't be trusting people, especially in the environment that you're in. Because here's the thing: when you are homeless, there are a lot of people out there that become more predatory, because they see you as somebody that they can torment and get away with it because of your status in life. Who's going to believe a homeless person? Oh, he's homeless, he's probably a drug addict, or he's probably this, or he's probably that. And those type of things tend to become more of an issue for the average human being. Well, actually, for the homeless person. So really, trusting no one is probably one of the most important things that you can do. If you're going to build trust with somebody, if okay, if you're gonna trust somebody, let them. Hey, what's up, Thomas? Glad to see you're here. If you're not going to trust anybody, though, or if you want to trust people, you have to do it based upon merit. They have to earn your trust. You don't see, in the housed world, you give somebody your trust until they show you that they're no longer worthy of your trust. After that, then you become, and then they can break your trust. Whereas being out here, it is more about doing good, freezing in Michigan. Well, I'm glad I'm not in Michigan. So, being out here, there are more and more, trusting somebody is not a good idea. So I'll give you a perfect example. So if you guys remember when I got to Chattanooga, I ended up meeting someone who wanted to do a business deal with me, who was like, "Hey, I got these talents and you've got these talents. Let's collaborate. Let's both make some money, and we'll both do well together. Well, what really ended up happening was this individual really just wanted to, because of him hating preppers and being a lone wolf, or what do you call it, a wolf prepper. Those people, you guys know what term I'm talking about. I can't think of it right offhand, but just because of his mentality towards preppers, he kind of came in as a wolf in sheep's clothing, and I ended up putting down my guard, and it almost ended up costing my channel. I actually backslid for a couple of months, and the channel really struggled. I was struggling. I couldn't get any traction because of, following the advice of somebody that I was supposed to be, going into business with, and that didn't work well. And that ended up costing me a lot, because not only did he convince me to give up all of my gear that I had, that would have, as of last night, I would have been able to weather the storm, because not only did I have a hammock, but I would have had my paracord, and I would have had my tarp and all that stuff. So those are little knickknacks that I've got to replace over time when I get to a place where I can actually do that. Things kind of went sideways in Waycross, but at the end of the day, trusting that individual and then trusting him enough to be able to give up my gear was probably the biggest mistake that I ever made, and it could have been fatal. But you guys have been here to kind of help me along the way, which I truly appreciate. Everyone from Paranoid by being my navigator, to those that make donations in my tip jar, to those that are just, showing up to the live streams and, just participating with the channel to kind of, on those days when I have bad days, to be able to kind of, lift me up. The second thing that you want to do to remain safe is you're going to want to fly solo. Part of the reason why you want to fly solo is, again, it goes right back to, hey, what's up, Slack? Oh, yeah, hey, I'm Slack, just so you know, I am in Baldwin, and I'm going to be heading to Orlando, and as soon as this rain is up today, I should be hopping my next train. So pat yourself on the back. You created you created a monster. So I'm actually looking forward to it, and I will send you a link to the video. I figured you guys would make it to Savannah. It's probably raining there too, because there's a whole band that's just kind of covering this whole northern part, and it just seems not to. But anyways, I'll send you a link to the video. So, but anyways, with that being said, you got to fly solo. Okay, flying solo, because unless you find somebody that you can truly trust, like if you look at Slack and Fishbone, regardless of who they are as human beings, they can trust each other. They have a common goal. They work well together. They are a well-oiled machine. It is very hard to find yourself a road dog, especially a road dog that you can travel with, meet up with. Was there for 8 days, Savannah. Yeah. Okay. So, but anyways, flying solo is something, until you find somebody that you can fully trust, that you can trust, that you can trust, full-heartedly, because, you got to be able to trust to leave the gear with them, that they're not, that they don't have malicious intent, and all these other things. Keeping yourself safe, at least in the beginning, until you find somebody that you can truly trust, like what we saw with Slack and Fishbone. It's going to be very hard. Now, it has been very rare for me to see anybody that has any type of not charisma, but the ability to be cohesive with other individuals. Okay, so flying solo is important in keeping yourself safe, especially as you experience this situation. The other thing is, and this is something that I have not made the mistake on, but there are a lot of places, especially like when you're in Tennessee or when you go to other states, where the state mandates, actually by legislation, where they won't allow you to bring your bags into an establishment, whether it be a bum feed, whether it be a shower or a shelter or anything else like that. They won't actually let you come in unless you get rid of your gear. And so sometimes I've even walked into places where they're like, yeah, no, you have a sleeping bag, we can't let you in. It's like, but it's in my bag. I'm here for a shower and a meal. I'm not even trying to say, oh, well, no, you can't eat here, you can't use a shower here, you can't do anything here because you got a sleeping bag. And again, this goes back into legislation. There is legislation that is malicious towards us as hobos or home bums or whatever it is that you may actually want to that you may want to call yourself. So one of the most important things is never separate from your gear. Again, I allowed somebody to convince me to separate from my gear as far as, giving it away, because the promise was that he was going to replace my gear with better gear, but that really wasn't what happened. Okay, so never separate from your gear at all. Also, you need to avoid idleness. One of the things that I see out here is that there are some people that can handle it, but if you don't have a goal, a direction, a way in which you're moving, whether it be, okay, I'm going to hop a train and I'm just going to keep going around town or going around the country, or whether it be, okay, I have this destination, I have these objectives, I have these goals. See, idleness can lead to depression, and it can also, if you stay idle in an area too long, especially if you're running from your problems will catch up to you. There's all different reasons why you do not want to be idle while you're living in this lifestyle, because one of the biggest things that I have seen in my travels over the years is that those that just kind of become idle, what ends up happening is they sink into a state of depression, and then they become more idle, and then they just don't want to do anything. And then they just become self-deprecating, and it's not something that is going to help you succeed. Okay, and number 5, which I consider, and there's more that are on top of this. And if Slack, honestly, you being as experienced as I am, and also you, Thomas, you guys can chime in and offer your own suggestions on top of what it is. But you want to always be on the move. Part of the reason why you get harassed at being a home bum in the cities, well, not as much anymore, but you used to, is by not being on the move. 1, 2, if you are not moving spots every couple of days, every so often, then what happens is people that are have malicious intent, have the ability to kind of watch you, know what your moves are, what your habits are. Being a hobo is fun. Yes, being a bum does suck. Being a hobo is so much fun. I'm actually getting really excited about trains. But, so yeah, so both of you guys agree with that. Yeah, that's why being on the move. So whether you're hitchhiking, whether you're hoboing, whether you're hiking, whether you're biking, or whatever it is that you do, you want to always be on the move, because when you become static, people start taking notice, and then they have the ability to start plotting against you in so many ways, whether it be to take your stuff, whether it be to harass you. So, for example, I got a little too comfortable when I got into Cincinnati, and I stayed along that river for probably about a week. And because I stayed along the river for about a week, after about 3 or 4 days, I started getting harassed by children, throwing trash on me, spitting on me in my sleep. And you guys have heard the stories and the dumb stuff, though. I'll check once. I'll stay in touch. Oh, definitely will, Slack, man. You are my favorite. So, yeah, keep her moving, definitely. I thought it was keep her chooching. So, but anyways, yeah, and Slack actually gave me a great idea for what's it called, for a shirt. It's Get Her Choochin'. And so with a picture of a train. So you may end up seeing a shirt like that come out pretty soon with that. But again, getting back, yeah, okay. Again, being out there, you always want to be on the move, because, again, being the more people get to recognize you, unless you are a home bum. Now, if you guys watched the last video that I put up, one of the things that I was talking about is community involvement, and in the community, you have the you have the ability to be looked after by the community, and so therefore being static is okay, but that's because you have the protection of the local community versus your own protection, which is a big difference for the average bum or hobo. Okay, so do you guys have any suggestions or any questions, any thoughts on this subject? And so the before, because I kind of got sidetracked back and forth because I'm looking at my notes, I'm watching the chat, and I'm kind of got my head on a swivel with everything that's going on here. Apparently, these people, it's only been like 3 or 4 days since I took a shower, but when you go from a from a high of 45 to a low of 60, you tend to sweat a little bit more. And when I get to hiking and walking, I tend to sweat a lot more. And so therefore, I haven't had a shower in like 4 days, which is kind of normal for me. But my smell is kind of getting there, and I've had a couple of complaints, not intentional. It's part of the lifestyle. It's 31 there. Hey, that actually sounds pretty warm. It's just a degree below freezing. So, but the old lady, she got impatient, and I kept trying to explain to her. It's like, and I was showing it to her. It's like, so this is the route that I'm trying to go. This is what I'm trying to do as far as getting to you. So I either have to walk 60 miles, or it's going to be a pain in the butt to. It's going to be a pain in the butt to try and hop a train because it's on a spur route, and that spur route isn't really super active. I might see maybe one train a day go through there, and I got to be there at the right time to be able to catch it. Versus what I've been used to is being along more active lines. That way I have more opportunities for trains, and that's a big deal. And so I kept asking her, I says, look, I can get so close, but I need you to come pick me up, shave some time off of this. I don't really want to walk 60 miles. Hitchhiking is really not my thing, even though I can do it. I was able to do it to get into Jacksonville. I was able to get into Jacksonville that way, but hitchhiking is something that it's really not my thing, just because I don't have the patience for it. I'd rather just wait around and hop a train and sit in the woods and relax while I'm waiting for a train than to keep walking down the road. And because you gotta make sure that you rest, and that's my biggest problem. Is when I get going, I just go, and I just don't stop until I run out of energy. And by then my legs are sore. Like this morning, I got woke up at 2:30 by the rain and had to come sit here in the Loves, and my legs were already spasming because I didn't get enough rest. I mean, I drank quite a bit of water yesterday, and I made sure to hydrate myself, but I didn't get enough rest for my muscles, and so just sitting there in the chair, the next best way to track, the next best way next to a track out in the woods. Yes. Definitely. But anyways, just I didn't want to walk the full 60 miles. I mean, the lady's like, "Oh, I'll pay you $50," and she's gonna work me like a dog. And I'm like, okay, I don't mind. I want to come see my friend, so I'll deal with it. I'll make a little bit of money. I don't mind working hard, but you're not gonna take advantage of me. And the thing is she was kind of trying to start to back out of, paying me, and then she didn't want to give me a ride. She just expected me to show up, and just because I'm her friend, I'm supposed to just come up and do it for her. And it's like, no, you ain't earned that right from me yet. I mean, maybe Slack and Fishbone have, because of the things that they did for me. But as far as this old lady, she's always been cantankerous, and she's a pain in the ass. So I wasn't really gonna take that. So when she said, well, just forget about it, I'm like, okay, perfect. So that means that now that I don't have to go on this spur line, I can go ahead and I can jump down to Orlando. Now I'm going to be leaving here in a minute. Hey, what's going on, Bushcraft? Well, it's been a hell of a morning, I tell you that much. I woke up this morning and I cursed creation because it's like, man, you can't give me a break on this rain, can you? But the thing is I'm paying the consequences for my mistakes, which was number two and number one, trust no one, number three and number one, trust no one and never separate from your gear. I made that mistake, and that was the biggest mistake I had. So do you guys have any suggestions or questions about being safe out here? Because it seemed like would be an interesting topic, something that most people would want to know about. And so therefore I figured, hey, why not have a live stream? And then that way we can cover all topics, all bases. Because when you're out here, one of the things that you may want to have on you is some form of protection. Now, in all the years that I've been traveling, I've never needed protection. And I think Slack and Fishbone can even attest for this. Instead of creating contention, I try and be the peacemaker, because there's no point in going down that road. But as of late, as of probably the last year, people have become more and more aggressive, and the need to be able to have some form of protection is extremely important. I would say it's more important now than it has ever been before. So my biggest stay safe code: never camp near anyone else. Yes, that's where we talked about number 2, flying solo. Now, if you know the kids, so rail jumping is a little bit different than home bumming, and you get to know people within the community regardless of which way that you tend to travel. Okay, if you tend to travel, to travel like I do, you'll make some friends, like the drunks I met in Cincinnati, because I got to know them, I got to watch them a little bit and see kind of what they were doing. I was able to realize that they were safe, but yet I still slept away from them. But I was close enough to where if something happened, that those guys were close enough to respond, but far enough away to where I could have my own privacy. And if anything went south, I wasn't around to be caught up in it. So bushcraft, I think that is something that is wise. But there are ways in which you can kind of be around somebody without being around somebody. For example, the last few days I was in Waycross. They slept out back. I slept in the house. I found my spot, and I'm like, okay, that's where I'm going to be until I leave. And so they ended up moving out back. So we kind of started sleeping separately, but then we started sleeping, but we kept an eye. I listened for them, they listened for me, and so therefore we had our distance, but yet we were both there for each other's support. So does anybody have any questions or anything that they would like some advice on as far as living this lifestyle? Any questions that they think that I have not answered? One of the other things that I really want to point out is that I think that we're about to go into the next wave of the expansion of the homeless population. Right now, with what's going on in Israel, so I've been kind of keeping up on it while I've had some time today. And one of the things that I'm finding out is that even though there's supposedly a ceasefire, that it's not necessarily a real ceasefire. And so therefore, Israel's is withdrawing from Gaza, but that's just so that they can recalibrate, retool, and continue moving. And this is going to cause a huge disruption in our supply chain in a lot of ways. Okay, and I was talking about this on the last live stream, which is, if all of our oil, or 70% of our oil, comes from the Middle East, and a majority of those countries, yes, never camp with people is a hobo rule. Yes, a majority of those people are aligned with Russia, one, and two, they're caught up in the fighting. That destroys the ability to have a sound supply chain. So millions are behind in rent, being evicted. Millions have to have their mortgages foreclosed on. Homeless population is about to be booming. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm starting to talk about. But there's other factors other than just that, because those people that aren't paying their rent and can't pay their mortgages probably have a family member that they're going to couch surf on for the next year. There's probably going to be there's probably a lot of stress being put on families right now with the stressors of having to kind of go back to the ways of old, where you had whole families, multiple generations living in one house. That's the way it was in the 1800s, and that's the way it was in the early 1900s. Only recently have we ever gotten to a point where, you as soon as you turned 18, you moved out on your own. Before then, you lived in the house until you got married, and then, if you were since you were going to take over the house and the property, and you were there to kind of work the fields, you just stayed living there, and so therefore everything was able to be cohesive. Well, we are in the modern age now, and in that modern age, you really don't have that cohesion within the family. There is a great divide within the family, and this could go all the way back to Agenda 2030. Or Global 2000, or the Paley Report. I mean, you can go all the way back down to the 1930s with the Ford Foundation, when they did the initial study to see how the Earth's resources would be best used in the future and what kind of obstacles we would face. And they started realizing back then that the population was too big, and in the future we were going to have resource wars. And then I remember watching on C-SPAN in late 90s, early 2000s, where a general got up and part of his dissertation in order to get his next star was about the resource wars that we would have in the future. So we've been prepared for it for almost 100 years now. Okay, but with what happened in Ukraine, look at how it affected the grain market. Look at how it affected the way things are being processed as far as our processed foods. They're now starting to come out with what they like to call healthier food, but not by choice, but by circumstance, because you're starting to have to use alternatives because they're blowing up the grain fields. You can't plant crops in the middle of a war, especially when you've got mortars and bombs and dying soldiers and things like that are going along there. Boots on the ground. Yes, well, I'm trying there, Bushcraft, and thank you. I appreciate that I've earned your trust on this issue. But when it comes to the supply chain and everything else like that, we've already started to see it with what's going on in Ukraine. Now our oil's being affected. Now what happens when, because we used to be, we were actually moving towards being a net exporter. Now this would require that either we get somebody in the Oval Office that is going to undo a lot of those restrictions, open up the spigots again like what had happened under Trump, to kind of help make us energy independent. But then what about the rest of the world? Because the thing is you make more money off of international exports than you do on domestic logistics. I don't know what the right word is, but domestically they're not going to make as much money. So everything that we do here is going to be exported, just like every other country. They prefer to export than to keep it within their country, which is a violation of the trust that was set between the people and the government. Because the whole reason for government is to be there to protect your resources from being pillaged by foreigners. And instead of doing that through globalization, we've allowed our corporations to pillage our resources for profit, while leaving us with nothing, holding the bag and paying the bill. And that's just, it's not right, it's not fair. And yet we willfully went in there in the name of, oh, well, times are good, I'm benefiting from it. Well, there's going to come a time when you no longer benefit from it, and this is that time. Okay, and we're getting to see the chickens come home to roost. Okay, so with what's going on in the Middle East, not only that, let's just say that Brazil, we decide, okay, with Brazil, but Brazil is part of BRICS, and BRICS has kind of declared an economic war on the West and the United States and the dollar. And so it's not in their interest to continue supplying us, because that will allow the dollar to maintain its strength. So you would definitely need you would throttle back exports, you would keep it internal. Smash the like buttons, likes are free. Things like that. And so what happens? Are we going to have to give up our civilian vehicles? So your car, your truck, your gas guzzler, your moped. Hey, what's up, Anarchy? your moped, your off-road vehicles. You're probably not going to be able to travel as far. You're going to be stuck like they were in the 1970s, but instead of being short-term like it was in the 70s for just a couple of years until a deal was struck. We only had a temporary shortage. Now, what if that shortage becomes long-term? What are the priorities? Who's going to get the fuel? I can tell you just from the way that I get to see things in my travels. One of the things you learn watching trains is how the internal logistics of the country works. It's a little bit more chaotic now because the system that they've got set up, but it used to be a lot more uniform than it is now. A lot of times they just throw a string of cars together and just send them on their way versus having, okay, we got an intermodal, we've got a coal train, we've got a rock train, we've got a wood train, we've got this train and that train. Bicycles, yeah, but the thing is, here's the kicker. All these bikes, because when I was walking that bike trail, because it was only like 15 miles on that bike trail, while watching that bike trail, people on that bike trail, they all had electric bikes. Now, where does your power come from? You got an electric bike, it's got a battery, it's going to be self-propelled. Not only will your regular vehicles not be able to be on the road, but what happens if they start having to throttle back power? If you remember a couple years ago in Denver, the power company got in a lot of trouble when they remotely put governors on people's.
Good morning, welcome to Love's. Attention all associates, time for a courtesy check.
They
get Nick to the men's.
Okay, I'm waiting for him to stop so I can continue.
Coral to the women's.
Okay, we got it. But anyways, they put a governor on the thermostats, and you couldn't turn it above a certain amount. Otherwise, it would just automatically turn down, or your thermostat wouldn't work. And there was a lot of people in Denver during the winter when this happened. Now, how are most of our power plants ran? They're ran by coal, they're ran by oil, and they're ran by natural gas. Now, the Barnett Shale, this is something that most people don't know. The Barnett Shale, which I used to sell shares of it because I used to work for...
Pizza. You have a call on Park 1, Godfather's Pizza. Order call on Park 1.
You really like yourself, don't you? If you look at... crap, I forgot where I was. If any one of you guys could kind of remind me kind of where I was on that topic, but I mean we have coal, we have oil, we have natural gas. Now, I remember the Barnett Shale is the second largest natural gas reserve in the world. The only other natural gas reserve that is the only other natural gas field that is bigger than the Barnett Shale is in Siberia. Okay, so Russia and the United States have the number 1 and number 2 natural gas field. Now, we do have plenty of natural gas plants, and those plants will be able to provide some electricity, but when you have to take a lot of those oil plants offline for short periods of time because now you have limited oil because we put so many restrictions on domestic production, this is going to cause a lot of issues. So then what are your primary what are your priorities? Okay, your priorities are going to be military, one, because we're going into a war, so we need to make sure that we have plenty of oil to go to war. Okay, and that's going to take away from you, me, even the trains and the trucks. Okay, and so we're going to have to deal with that. Okay, and then not only that, who gets the most power, or who gets priority over what, and who's going to suffer the most? The thing is you and I are going to be freezing to death in the winter. Well, they wage a war and make sure that they can make money by fueling the trains and fueling the trucks. But then the trucks may also, because if you remember what just happened in the last year or so, they had to put wanted to get comment and like through the... All right, thanks, Jeremy. So if you remember, last year, I think they had to start putting this detergent in the diesel fuel so that it would stretch it, because we were having a diesel fuel shortage. Well, if you remember how much of a disruption that caused, now you might start looking at trucks, instead of doing long hauls and doing over the roads. What they're doing is they're going they're going to probably make the logistics a lot more efficient by putting it all on a train. And then they have certain hubs, certain spots, so like Waycross, Jacksonville, Atlanta, Nashville. Certain stops along the way where they empty it out, and then they do short hauls, local commuter hauls, to where it is that you got to go. Okay, and so again, this is what we're looking at. And so what's going to happen to you? Okay, because you got to realize that, because you can't use your regular vehicles, most of your commercial vehicles may not be able to be in use unless they are critical, like logistics, such as trucking and trains. Okay, so what is going to happen to all these small businesses? What is going to happen to your job? Okay, now you may sit there and go, oh, well, I'm safe, I got a good job, but for how long? Okay, because the way that the cause and effect is going down the road, you're going to be affected by this in one form or fashion. Okay, that this is something that you as an individual should be being prepared for. This is the time to, if you're already set up to go off grid, go ahead and disconnect yourself now. Okay, because my old man, one of the things I kept trying to warn him about, because he's like, oh no, we don't need the backup battery. That backup battery is $20,000. Well, we don't want it, because my stepmom, she's cheap and she wanted to be cheap. But I bet you in about 2 years she's going to be regretting that. Because here's what happened. They produce power, okay? So this is something big that happens in Florida, and especially around here in the South, is that they pay these homeowners to put the solar power on their roofs. And so therefore they got to pay for it, but then they also get a kickback because they partially own it. And so therefore whatever power they produce goes to the grid. But the thing is it always stays local. One thing I learned working with Multitrust Securities back in the day when we were selling shares of drillings in the Barnett Shale is that power is localized. The closer you are to the source, the more likely you are to get power. So those homes will be able to take a lot of the power before it even goes off into the grid, even though they're trying to be able to not do that. But then what happens if you want to be able to keep some of that power and just completely disconnect from that grid? Well, if you don't have those backup batteries to be able to store the electricity, you're going to go periods of time without any electricity, which means your food's going to go bad, which means your lights are going to go out, and means you can't charge your phone, things like that. Because we need to. And then what about cell phone towers? What about the internet? What about a lot of this stuff that requires all of this power that we're using? Okay, and so this is going to slowly, this is a causation chain that is happening here. And this is something that you as an individual should definitely be preparing for. And the thing is it's going to become, the only way you will be able to do that if you own the solar panel array and battery. Correct. And that's what I'm complaining about with my stepmom and my old man, is that they had to finance the solar panels. I think it was like $50,000 for the solar panels. Okay, but they get tax credits from the government, and then they get write-offs, and then not only that, their power bill was only like it went from like $200 a month down to like $50 a month. Okay, so they still had to pay for it, and I don't know the full-on details, but those of you that own houses, this is something that you probably should have already looked into if you haven't already. And a lot of people think, oh, well, it's a scam, it's this, it's that. It's like, no, this was your opportunity. In a lot of ways, people don't understand that the government does, whether knowingly or unknowingly, does offer true help from time to time, and these tax credits and everything else like that to be able to turn yourself solar is something that benefits the government because it keeps civility within society, so that there is less of a drain on the actual resources. But our problem is instead of being able to transfer away from these other sources, we just add another source. And so every time we bring in a new technology, so let's say we bring in fission, let's say we bring in what's that where they drill into the ground, thermoelectric plants, okay, where they just take the ground heat. Now all that's going to do is, instead of being able to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, instead what we're doing is we're keeping our dependence on fossil fuels and just expanding our overall power consumption. And this is the mistake in which we're making, because we want all these new amenities, all this new technology. We're very wasteful, not even realizing it, because you always have, like my old man, he likes to leave lights on all the time, and my stepmom bitches at him, rightfully so, because even those 3 or 4 cents, 3 or 4 cents for this bulb, 3 or 4 cents for that bulb, eventually, now you're going to have to pay to replace that bulb. Also, you're doing the wear and tear on your wires, which means now you have to start thinking about bringing an electrician in. And so that 3 or 4 cents becomes $3 or $4. And, it compounds over time. And that's something that as individuals that we should probably be more aware of and more thoughtful and more conscious of. Unfortunately, we're not together as a hive mind, or as a hive mind, or as a collective. We're not all on board, because you have those people like, oh, well, I've always had it, I'm going to do it. Or, oh, I don't care, I'm going to be dead by the time that happens. Well, you know what? Let's kind of help you out with that a little early, because it's selfish, it's reckless, it's irresponsible, and it's typical boomer mentality, which is, I'll be dead later, I don't care, I hate my kids, I don't care, I don't care. And so eventually everybody else is stuck holding the bag for their reckless and irresponsible behavior, and so therefore we're right here. Because who's been in power for the last 70 years? Not Gen Xers, not millennials, boomers, okay? And so, all right, Thomas, thanks for showing up, and man, I'll see you in the next live stream, man. Thanks for showing, man. But these are different, definite. Okay. Please proceed to shower 4. Sorry, guys. It's I get annoyed by it. It's and plus, again, I've had a really, really bad day. Getting woke up at 2:30 in the morning by rain, and then kind of having to come here and like dog tired. I mean, I don't know how many cups of coffee I had just to be able to wake up, because I only got like 5 hours sleep, and again, it just, my body, it's not liking it. So do you guys have any questions about this? Do you guys have any questions about my viewpoints, or about how to be able to be safe as you're becoming homeless, or should you become homeless? Because this also applies to bugging out. This applies to a lot of different things, okay? And it is what it is, but it's also there is always going to be an upside. For every obstacle, there is an opportunity. A lot of people ask me, like, how are you able to be so upbeat living this lifestyle? And a lot of people get asked that are upbeat out here. I know Slack may get asked that quite a bit, because he's next to me. I think he's the only upbeat person I've really met. And a lot of it has to do with either they're on a lot of drugs and alcohol, or they have that mentality. Part of it is you guys have taught me to be positive, because it affects me negatively, but also it's something that affects everything, because if I have a negative come from, if I look at everything with a pessimistic attitude, then I get what I see. Okay, so that's something that I've really worked on, is having a positive attitude. But also the thing is, how much crap I have seen. Oh, most don't realize the stress that you don't have to deal with while living on the road. Well, and most people don't realize the stresses you have to deal with when you're on the road. Because what was it? When I was in Jacksonville, I was trying to find me a place to hitch a ride at a station to get to Gainesville. And, the lady came out, because I even told her, I even said, you know what? I said, I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to sit out front, and I'm going to eat it. Well, the thing, you can't be here. And point blank, I said, why do you hate people like me? I mean, what did I ever do to you? I said, I'm trying to eat. I paid for it. I could sit here. I can eat. And technically, I could have. But I wasn't wanting to deal with all the crap. You better get out of here. You either get out of here or you're going to jail. Well, you know what? You got to deal with people that look at you in your situation and see you as their personal punching bag, because their life sucks and they hate themselves and they don't like their situation. So therefore, they're going to lash out at the one person that really can't defend themselves, or could, but you're facing a credibility issue when you deal with the law, because, oh, you're homeless, you have nothing, you must be a drug addict, you must be a junkie, you must be this or that or the other. And it's something that you constantly have to fight an uphill battle. I've had people come at, like, in the middle of the night, I'm sleeping in an alcove, and just come and scream at me, and like, they're lucky I didn't wake up and have my way with them, because the girl I was dating at the time had to literally grab me by the scruff of the shirt, and this was in Gainesville last year. If you guys remember the girl I was dating, she grabbed me by the neck, by the back of my shirt, and like held me down so I didn't go, because I was about to go show that college kid exactly what teach him a lesson. We'll just say that. I was going to do much worse than that, but teach him a lesson is a nice way of putting it. But the things out here, you have to worry about that. And so if you have an opportunity to kind of get in an off place, your best bet is always to look around. In these cities, there's always undeveloped wooded areas, whether it be in certain areas of town, like near the outskirts, but like still close to the center, or on the outskirts of town. There's always a wooded area that you can find, and that's where I find to be the safest. If you see the video I put out about Nashville, one of the things that I was able to do is I was next to a warehouse, but there was a small little wooded area. I went, tucked myself in there, didn't get bothered. Well, actually, I did get bothered. Some dude came by thinking that some girl, there must have been some woman there at one point in time that was doing tricks, because, he came by, and I kept my mouth shut. I let him run and say what he was going to say, but, because I was going to leave it alone. Because I wasn't trying to create contention. I was trying to be even though I'm not Christian, that is part of the Christian ideology, is to be a peacemaker. If you come from a place of contention, you're not in the Christian. If you follow true Christian ideology, those who come from a place of contention are not of me. Those who come from a place of peace are of me, and I believe it actually says that within the Bible. The only thing about wooded areas in such cities, you have to worry about wood tramps. But you know what? That's why you look in there and you scout the area out for a day or two, or even. Go, if you guys saw when I was in Cincinnati, I was scouting out wooded areas to move into. Well, they'll come in, they'll move out of camp, but that's because there was too many people that congregated, and it became a health risk because they were trashing everything and, doing their dope and all this other crap. And so therefore, this is, again, why you sleep solo, okay? Why you travel solo, because the more people you bring around, the more attention you attract, the more trash you create, the more of an eyesore it becomes. It is hard to be clean out here. You don't get a shower every day. You don't get to wash your clothes every day. I mean, I haven't been able to do wash clothes in a month. I've had 2 showers this month. Okay, and it is what it is, but you got to deal with it. And thank God I have some wipes, so I can at least get the important parts, so that I don't get any nastiness or smell the cheese or anything else like that. But sometimes getting sick with this with the abscess, and I want to show you guys my burn. So the scab finally came off. Okay. I finally peeled it today. I got some triple antibiotic on it. I'm waiting for this one, but as you see, it's really cleared up a lot. I completely agree with you, Bushcraft. Lone wolf is the only way to go. But again, if you find somebody like what Slack and Fishbone have, those guys, they go well together. Okay. they go very well together. They complement each other. They balance each other out. Because I'm just going to leave it alone because I don't want to be telling personal stories. I probably shouldn't. Okay, but with them, they have a dynamic, and you may, if you spend enough time out here, I bet you if I spend another year or two out here, I will probably find a road dog. If Puckett would have been able to get on the road with me, he would have actually been my road dog, because him and I complemented each other in the same way that Slack and Fishbone complement each other, or the two drunks that I met in Cincinnati complemented each other. Because you will find somebody that will complement you and be your balance, and that not only you can get along with, but you want to be on the road with that individual. And the thing is, you got to ask yourself, if you decide, okay, well, do I want to hang out with somebody for the time I'm out here, or inevitably, or whatever? Ask yourself, like, how can I stand this person? What is it I don't like about this person? Can I tolerate it, or can't I? Do we have the same ideals, the same goals? Do we have the same set of standards in which we live by, or a similar set of standards that allows us to govern and be cohesive? And see, that's the hardest part of finding somebody that you can actually be a road dog with, or be your road dog, is those different things. So, it is getting close to almost an hour. Wow, I really kind of went off the hinges today. I didn't expect that. So if you guys, I'm going to go ahead and start closing up. If you guys have any questions, please ask them now. I want to kind of tell you guys some stuff that's going on over on Patreon, because I think that it'll benefit everybody, even people here in the community. Now, I do not know if it's paid or if it is free. Now, I do have some of my members over there on Patreon are free, and whenever I take a video out of the paywall and show it to the public, if you're a free member, you get that video, okay? And every so often, I will go through and just kind of throw out some free videos, because they've been behind a paywall long enough to where and it's kind of helping bring people into the fold, and kind of growing that platform over there. Okay, but they have a chat function, and one of the things that I really would like to do with the chat function is to allow those of you that are part of this community, part of the Friar Tuck community. I am Friar Tuck. You are part of my community. You are extended family. Okay, this is a way for us to network, us to be able, because you guys can not only help me, but you guys can help each other out too, because you guys might be like, okay, I got some extra seeds, but I need this, and so therefore you can trade, you can send resources back and forth to each other to make sure to kind of complement yourselves and make it a lot more economical on yourself, if that makes sense. That's kind of what I'm hoping to be able to build there in the chat function. So if you're not a member of Patreon, you should come over there and at least become a free member, and you'll get some of the videos that I put out outside of the paywall. Also, there is a 7-day free trial if you want to be able to do the free trial. I will always recommend that you do the hobo tutorials plus behind the scenes. That way you get access to all videos. And then if you just only like the train videos and the behind the scenes, drop down to the $5 ones. If you find that the hobo tutorials are valuable, then just keep on keeping on. Okay, but that's one thing that I'm really working on over on Patreon. So if you already are a subscriber over there on Patreon, that's something that I would like to invite you to do. I've already put a couple of chats out there. Tell me, send me a message and let me know if you have access to it, don't have access to it, what you see on your side, because I only know what you guys tell me. And in some ways, I'll cut up just in time. Hope you have a good day. Thanks, Jeremy. Sometimes it's just. I don't know. I'm kind of flying blind in that way. So if you are over there on Patreon, go ahead and join the chat community. As far as other ways to help the community, I am also, because I've had some people ask me if I have Venmo. I'm adding that. I don't know much about it. I know more about CashApp than I know about Venmo. Most people end up, and Venmo, I guess, is part of PayPal, but it's some of the youngers, like 30 and under, tend to use the Venmo more than the 30 and over. So for those that want to do that, it's going to be the same. I need to update my my settings for the live streams and stuff to include the new Cash App link, because the Cash App username or handle that I'm using is going to be the same on Venmo, which is FriarTuck81, capital F, capital T. Okay. And that will be that will be another option for those of you that prefer to use Venmo. I want to be able to leave options open, because there was a time in Cincinnati where somebody came up to me. It's like, do you have Venmo? I'm like, no, I have Cash App, I have PayPal. Oh, no, you don't have Venmo. I'd like to help you, but you don't have Venmo. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, I guess it's time for me to be able to get that. So I don't ever expect anything to come through it, but if it does, it does. But it's just there as another option for you guys. And again, the Cash App handle, it has been changed to FriarTuck81, capital F, capital T. Okay, so if you want to help the channel out, make sure you become a subscriber if you're not a subscriber. Hit the like button if you haven't already hit the like button. Also, if you have not hit the bell notification, hit that bell notification so whenever I go live, you are able to see it, because as I'm hopping around, there is no set schedule for me. I am done with set schedules and setting up, I'm going here, I'm going there. I'm going to Orlando because I made a promise to a couple of people that I would go there. And so therefore, and that's much easier to get to than to Gainesville or Alachua, which is where I was really trying to go. Gainesville just happens to be in the same county. And then from Orlando, I'm debating on whether I want to go south to Miami, but I've been looking at the rain, and it seems like it's raining down there just as much as it is up here. And I'm like, I'd rather just stay in Orlando for a couple of weeks and stay dry than, get completely soaked like a dog here in the northern and southern part of the state. But my overall goal for this year is I would like to make, now there's no guarantee. Again, I get on the rails. Wherever I end up, and you guys get to explore this country the same way that I do. I have a general direction I want to go, northeast, west, or south. Past that, I'm not really trying to put a specific destination in place. Now, I know I do want to go to New Orleans, and I may end up either hitching there or something, because I know it goes right along a major freeway. It may be easier, but I want to make that for Mardi Gras. I want to see Mardi Gras, and that's definitely going to be behind a paywall, just because of some things that I know that go on at Mardi Gras. I will probably get censored on YouTube for that. But I want to go there, and then I also want to make it to Texas. I talked with Paul earlier today. He said that if I got close enough to Dallas, he would come pick me up, which is what I was trying to get the old lady to do to begin with. He would pick me up. And he told me to avoid Garland, because in Garland, I think it's mostly because of Union Pacific. They are really trying to catch train hoppers. So he said kind of get off before Garland, which will be the entry into the Dallas area from New Orleans. Because after I leave New Orleans, the next place I'm going to be heading towards is heading towards Dallas, so that I can pick up a couple of knives, see my best friend, hang out with his kid, because I remember when he was first born. Man, this kid has grown so much. But I'm gonna see his kid. And get to see the newborn, because he just had a daughter, so I get to meet her as well, and and then after that, I'm probably. Can I get a piece on the gas side when you get a chance? I'm gonna be looking to make it to Colorado and do the Rockies. I do want to avoid Denver, just because I saw Skid Row is moving east. Weird thing is, in Jacksonville, I saw my first fentanyl person, because I've seen videos where people like fall asleep in weird positions on fentanyl after they pass out after being up for days. Like, I saw a lady, she, you know how they stand up, she was kind of like almost like this. She wasn't fully bent over, but she was bent over enough at the waist. It was like, that's just messed up. And I was like, that's got to be fentanyl, because that seems to be the videos I keep seeing. So I got to see one of that in Jacksonville, and that'll be interesting. Now, also, some of you guys in your local regions, you know about things that are brewing, such as civil unrest, such as not rioting, protesting. Yes, that's it. The summer of protests. Seeing things like that. If you guys see things like that, please let me know, because I want to be able to, as you guys keep saying, oh, I want you to be on the ground. Well, that was one of the things I really wanted to do in my travels, was to head towards cities. So I'm probably gonna end up going up the East Coast at some point in time. I've heard that the view is absolutely phenomenal, but I would also like to stop in these major cities and to be able to catch some of this stuff so that you guys can see it, kind of like how I did with the pro-Palestinian march, and kind of let you see what I was seeing versus. And even the things that you couldn't see that I was seeing, I was kind of telling you what I was observing, and I would like to be able to bring that to you guys as a way to bring value and add value to this channel and to you guys at the end of the day. Okay, since I haven't seen any more questions come through, I'm going to say thank you for being a subscriber. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for hitting the like button. And don't forget to share it as well. Share this on your Facebook. Share this on your Truth Social. Share this on your LinkedIn. Things like that. Because the more people that we get this out to, the more people that are exposed to this, the better opportunity they have to be able to prepare. And considering it's the writing's on the wall, a lot more people are going to be a lot more open to this than they were a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Okay, so don't forget to hit the share button as well. Thank you for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next live stream, which should be a day or so after I get into Orlando, because I need to get some rest and make up for the rest I lost this morning. But I do need to get some rest, which I will do, and then I will do a live stream in Orlando. Thank you for watching, guys, and I will see you.